Take me away from home. Show me all the places I've never known. And we'll chase the night, race all of these broken dreams in flight. And we'll fly. Up here, we're free, bound only by frozen memories, lost in time, racing all these broken dreams tonight, and we'll fly. Take me away from home. Show me all the places I've never known. chase the night, race all of these broken dreams in flight, and we'll fly. Oh, we'll fly. Up here, we're free, bound only by frozen memories, lost in time, racing all these broken dreams tonight.